Okay. Am I on yet? Hello? What's that? I don't know. Where? There we go.
Okay, I think you're good.
It's on? Can you hear me? Hello, all you happy people. Okay. I'm so glad to see you all here at Manor, and my better half over here, Gail. Always so glad to have her here. And then on top of that, I'm very privileged and honored to have those that mean a lot to me. Thank you. Okay, so as you see, I'm not Frank, and so you get to hear me stumble through some of the announcements. This week, since he's not here, there won't be anything going on here Wednesday, and then Thursday at 10 a.m., Mary Helen, we have a church kitchen cleanup party, right? Okay, okay, so I want to remember that. It's fun working together. And next week is extra special. Next Sunday we have here what God's doing right here in our congregation. We have some testimonies and people telling what God is doing in their life, and so you'll be welcome to opportunity for you to share too. That's really cool. We'd love to hear your story. And a very big event for Manor. The last thing I'm going to say is on the 26th, Pastor Scott's family will be back. There'll be a big luau party there. And so please mark that on your calendar. I printed out stuff because I never remember what people say up here, so I like to see it printed so you can just put this in your calendar, and hopefully that'll help you keep on track here. So, and so with that, we shall continue singing.
Sacrifice of praise into the house of the Lord. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of the Lord, and we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving, and we offer sacrifice of praise into the house of the Lord. We bring the sacrifice of praise into the house of the Lord. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of joy. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of thanksgiving. And we offer up to you the sacrifices of joy. There are some things I may not know. There are some places I can't go. But I am sure of this one thing, that God is real, for I can feel Him deep in my soul. My God is real, He's real in my soul. My God is real, for He has washed and made me whole. His love for me is like pure gold. My God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul. I cannot tell just how I felt when Jesus took all my sins away. But on that day, yes, on that hour, my God was real, for I could feel His holy power. My God is real, He's real in my soul. My God is real, for He has washed and made me whole. His love for me is like pure gold. My God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul. Some folks may doubt, some folks may scorn. They can all go on, just leave me alone. But as for me, I'll take God's part. For I is real, for I can feel Him in my heart. My God is real, He's real in my soul. My God is real, for He has washed and made me whole. His love for me is like pure gold. My God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul. My God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul. Oh, my God is real, for I can feel Him in my soul. I will come to you in the silence. I will lift you from all your fear. You will hear my voice. I claim you as my choice. Be still and know I am near. I am hope for all. follow me. I will bring you home. I love you and you are mine. I am strength for all the despairing, healing for the ones who dwell in shame. All the blind will see, the lame will all run free, and all will know my name. Do not be afraid, I am with you. I have called you each by name. Come and follow me, I will bring you home. I love you and you are mine. I am the word that leads all to freedom. I am the peace the world cannot give. I will call your name, embracing all your pain. Stand up now, walk and live. Do not be afraid, I am with you. I have called you each by name. Come and follow me, I will bring you home. I love
Technology. Okay. I'm not used to these things here. There we go. Am I on? Okay. There we go. Servants. Okay. Today we want to have honor some servants, and the definition of a servant is one who does things that they don't want to do and can't go where they want to go because they're a servant. And so I would like those of you who have served with the military, if you would stand right now, I'd appreciate that. All of you stand. Okay. And we have something for you. Thank you. And there's, okay, slide. Okay, and there's a verse that God honors servants. He says, but whoever would be great among you must be your servant, and whoever would be first among you must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Servants are honored by God, and you, veterans, you get double honor, because not only from our country, but from God, because you serve the King of Kings, you serve the Lord of Lords, our Creator and Maker. And so that's the honor that you get. And now you can proudly say, with all the rest of us, that He is our God, and we are honored to be called His people. That's where our citizenship is. And for such a tiny church, it's impressive how many of you have served in the military. So thank you very much. Okay. Okay, next. Okay, same routine as last week. You should have a piece of paper and a pencil. And if you do not raise your hand, and Titus or Bruce will make sure that you get one. And those of you, you're going to write. In my class, that's not an option. You have to write. So get used to it. And our teaching here at Manor is about Jesus Christ. Okay, it's about God. And I was reading through Hebrews, and he makes an amazing summary about who God is. It says, he said, He's the heir of all things. He made the world. I'm talking about our God. He's the radiance of His glory and the exact representation of His nature. He upholds all things by the word of His power. He made purification of sins. He sits at the right hand of the Majesty on high. That's our God. Okay. Then what he says, therefore, we must pay much closer attention to what we have heard, lest we drift away from it. Therefore, we must pay much closer attention to what we have heard, lest we drift away from it. Sounds like the comments on my report cards when I was in high school. You need to pay more attention. Okay? And so anyway, this admonition is definitely for me, and I believe, presume for each of you. So, are you ready? Pencil in hand? We're ready to go. Okay. Just to recap, slide 5 there. Okay. Last week we looked at God's heart, the heartbeat of God, and it's true from Genesis all the way up to Revelation. You can hear it in every single book. And in Genesis, God, very beginning, made the garden. He made a place where He could come down and dwell with man. And then we look all the way at the end of Revelation, and there's the New Jerusalem again, where God will again dwell with man and be our God, and we shall be His people. So let's stand together as we read together our text for today from Leviticus. Moreover, I will make my dwelling among you, and my soul will not reject you. I will also walk among you and be your God, and you shall be my people. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, so that you would not be their slaves, and I broke the bars of your yoke and made you walk erect. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay. Speaking of paying attention, one of the best ways to get my attention was to tell me a story. And that's why I love the Old Testament. The Old Testament is just full of gripping and amazing stories, and they all, in some way, reflect the heart of God, what we've just been reading about. Okay, go ahead. I think the next one. Okay, so I'm going to read to you the story. You'll get a whole lot more out of it than if I'm just talking to you. So you're ready. Pencil in hand. Here we go. Got it? Yeah, some of you guys remember Woe of Joe, that story? Yeah, I told these guys this story, 3-4 years ago, and they still remember it. Stories are good. Help us remember things. Okay. Okay, let's go back to... Okay, find my place here. So, okay, last week, slide 7, I shared last week about Rabshakeh. Isn't that a cool name? Rabshakeh. Well, the Rabshakeh asked the $1 billion question, if you remember that. And he said, on what do you rest this trust of yours? That he didn't ask who, because he knew it already. You know, it was obvious, Hezekiah. You'll see that when we read the story. He said, on what do you rest this trust of yours? Our enemy challenges you and I today with the same question. He said, Hezekiah, on what do you rest this trust of yours? And so the next question, next slide, okay. So, believer, you have put your trust in Jesus Christ. Rabshakeh would ask you the same question. He says, on what do you rest this trust of yours in Jesus Christ? So let's read 2 Kings, and we'll see that. So pay attention to God's heart as you see this. Here we go. God dwelt among them. He walked among them. He was their God and their the people. Okay, this is Hezekiah. He was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Abi, the daughter of Zechariah. And he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord, according to all that David his father had done. He removed the high places and broke the pillars and cut down the Asherah, and he broke in pieces the bronze serpent that Moses made, for those days the people of Israel had made offerings to it. It was called the Nehushtan. He trusted in the Lord, the God of Israel, so that there was none like him among all the kings of Judah after him, or among those who were before him. For he held fast to the Lord. He did not depart from following him, but kept the commandments that the Lord commanded Moses. And the Lord was with him. Wherever he went out, he prospered. He rebelled against the king of Assyria and would not serve him. He struck down the Philistines as far as Gaza, if that sounds familiar to you, and its territory from the watchtower to the fortified city. So basically, in a nutshell, this guy's amazing. He's obviously spending time in the Word. He's offering sacrifices in Jerusalem, and he's serving God faithfully with the whole heart, and just like so many of you are. And furthermore, God prospered him. And from what I understand, at one time, manna was prospering. This place was full. Okay, so we can relate to this story a little bit. Let's see what happened then. Okay. Verse 10, the 6th year of Hezekiah, which was the 9th year of Hoshea, king of Israel, Samaria was taken. The king of Assyria carried the Israelites away to Assyria. This is bad news, okay? Their kinsmen, they were the northern kingdom of Israel. They were right on the doorstep there. So, very scary, but it gets worse. In the 14th year of King Hezekiah, Sennacherib, the king of Assyria, came up against the fortified cities of Judah and took them. Slowly, Rabshakeh is whittling away at Hezekiah's kingdom. One by one, those cities are falling. Can you imagine how terrified and how discouraged the people in Jerusalem were? And so, facing imminent disaster, this is what happened. At that time, Hezekiah stripped the gold from the doors of the temple of the Lord and from the doorposts that Hezekiah the king of Judah had overlaid, and gave it to the king of Assyria. Desperate times calls for desperate measures, okay? Maybe Hezekiah was hoping to buy his way out of the predicament. How do you think that worked? Okay. Do you think it works today? Sometimes we try to make, our own solutions, and we try to appease the enemy. Whenever you appease the enemy, it always leads to compromise. We are not that manner. We're not going to compromise, are we? Okay, keep on going. And Rabshakeh said to them, "Say to Hezekiah, thus says the great king, the king of Assyria, on what do you rest this trust of yours? Do you think that mere words are strategy and power for war? In whom do you now trust that you have rebelled against me? Behold, you are trusting now in Egypt, that broken reed of a staff, which will pierce the hand of any man who leans on it. Such is Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, to all who trust in him. But if you say to me, we trust in the Lord our God, is it not he whose high places and altars Hezekiah has removed, saying to Judah and Jerusalem, you shall worship before this altar in Jerusalem?" Basically, Rabshakeh is telling Hezekiah, he's saying, you trust in Jesus Christ, you trust in God? So what? How's that working for you? They're dwindling. Okay? Come on now, make a wager with my master, the king of Assyria. I will give you 2,000 horses if you are able on your part to set riders on them. How then can you repulse a single captain among the least of my master's servants when you trust in Egypt for chariots and horsemen? Moreover, it is without the Lord that I have come up, or is it without the Lord that I have come up against this place to destroy it? The Lord said to me, go up against this land and destroy it. Looking at that, I thought, it seems that, first of all, Rabshakeh is goading Hezekiah. He's saying, Hezekiah, you are sunk, and you know it. You have no resources, you have no backup, and you have dwindled to a tiny remnant. A tiny remnant. Can't even put 2,000 men on horses. So God, therefore, must not be on your side. Look, we're winning. He must be on our side. That's basically what he's trying to tell Hezekiah. Then Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, and Shebna, and Joah said to Rabshakeh, please speak to your servants in Aramaic, for we understand it. Do not speak to us in the language of Judah within the hearing of the people who are on the wall. But the Rabshakeh said to him, has my master sent me to speak to these words to your master and to you, and not to the men sitting on the wall, who are doomed with you to eat their own dung and to drink their own urine? Demoralizing the people, that's the enemy's favorite tactic. You get discouraged and demoralized. That's what the enemy does. Realize that. Then Rabshakeh stood and called out in a loud voice in the language of Judah, hear the word of the great king of Assyria. Thus says the king, do not let Hezekiah deceive you, for he will not be able to deliver you out of my hand. Do not let Hezekiah make you trust in the Lord, saying, the Lord will surely deliver us, and the city will not be given into the hand of the king of Assyria. Do not listen to Hezekiah, for thus says the king of Assyria, make your peace with me, and come out to me. Then each one of you will eat of his own vine, and each of his own fig tree. And he goes on and says all these wonderful things and promises, which obviously are lies. He's going to make slaves out of them. But this sounds good, right, in their situation? And he says, where are the gods of Hamath and Arpad? Where are the gods of Sepharvaim, Hena, and Iva? Have they delivered Samaria out of my hand? Who among all the gods of the lands have delivered their hands out of my hand, that the Lord should deliver Jerusalem out of my hand? So Rabshakeh is saying, give it up. Give it up. You can blame that leader of yours, Hezekiah, right? For the mess that you're in. So you only have two options. You're either going to starve to death or you're going to get butchered. very persuasive there. So he says, I'm offering you a reasonable way out. Surrender now sounds very, very tempting, given the situation. So just quit. Okay. I confess, I get discouraged. The enemy plants discouraging thoughts and contrary thoughts in my mind, especially when I start listening to the voice of the enemy. Okay, so let's read on and let God encourage our hearts. Slide 10. Okay. The response of the people. This is so cool. Short little sentence here, but extremely important. But the people were silent and answered him not a word, for the king's command was, do not answer him. Who were the people listening to? They were responding to Hezekiah. They were not responding to Rabshakeh. They were responding to Hezekiah. Wait is a word we hate, but so often the Bible commands us to wait. They that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. So we can look to our God, and rather than responding to the enemy's temptations. And we feel a reassurance of God's heart because he dwells with us, and we are his people. Slide 11. Then Eliakim the son of Hilkiah, who was over the household, and Shebna the secretary, and Joah the son of Asaph the recorder, came to Hezekiah with their clothes torn, and they told him the words of Rabshakeh. As soon as King Hezekiah heard it, he tore his clothes and covered himself with sackcloth and went into the house of the Lord. These people, they believed that God was with them, that he believed that God was walking among them, and this answer to Rabshakeh's question, this is what these men rested in. They knew the heart of God. You'll notice it's when they humble themselves, this is when God steps in. This is when God comes into action here. They can't, it's time for God to be God because he is our God. So skimming down through the rest of the story, Rabshakeh hears rumors of another attack and leaves Jerusalem. Already God's starting to move things. And so, but apparently he sent a threatening letter to Hezekiah indicating, I shall return. Don't think you've dodged the bullet. So, next, Hezekiah's response. Hezekiah received the letter from the hand of the messengers and read it. And Hezekiah went up to the house of the Lord and spread it before the Lord. He said, Lord, you are our God. This is your baby, God. It is out of our hands completely. We are your people. Thus says Hezekiah, he wrote a message to Isaiah a little later on. This day is a day of distress, of rebuke and disgrace. Children have come to point of birth, and there is no strength to bring them forth. It may be that the Lord your God heard all the words of Rabshakeh, whom his master the king of Assyria has sent to mock the living God, and will rebuke the words that the Lord your God has heard. Therefore, we lift up your prayer for the remnant that is left. We here at Manor are, in a sense, we are remnant. So what are we to do? Run, give up, fight? This is our God. A common worldview is that God is something like Star Wars, the Force be with you. No, that's not God. Not at all. Because God is not a totally impersonal power. And he's not only for only a select few Jedi who have to give up their own mind just to submit to this power. No, God's not like that. He dwells with us. He's our God. He's our maker. And he makes it possible for us to dwell with him and to walk with him. And so we walk with him without being fried by the Death Star, right? Anyway, he's a mighty and fearsome force beyond any fictional movie. This is our God, and we are his people. Okay, listen to Hezekiah's prayer. And Hezekiah prayed before the Lord and said, O Lord, the God of Israel, enthroned above the cherubim, you are the God. you alone of all the kingdoms of the earth. You have made heaven and earth. Incline your ear, O Lord, and hear. Open your eyes, O Lord, and see, and hear the words of Sennacherib, which he has sent to mock the living God. Truly, O Lord, the kings of Assyria have laid waste the nations in their hands, and have cast their gods into the fire. For they were not gods, but the work of men's hands, wood and stone. Therefore, they were destroyed. So now, O Lord, our God, he's claiming, our God, save us, please, from his hand, that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you, O Lord, are God alone. Slide 14. Now God steps into action. Therefore, thus says the Lord concerning the king of Assyria, he shall not come into this city or shoot an arrow there, or come before it with a shield, or cast up a siege or mount against it. By the way he came, by that same he shall return, and he shall not come into this city, declares the Lord. For I will defend the city to save it, for my own sake, and for the sake of my servant David. And that night, the angel of the Lord went out and struck down 185,000 in the camp of the Assyrians. And when the people arose early in the morning, behold, these were all dead bodies. Then Sennacherib, the king of Assyria himself, departed and went home and lived in Nineveh. And as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch his god, Adrammelech and Sharezer his sons struck him down with the sword. This mighty God is our God. We're his people. He dwells with us, and we belong to him. So now we're going to have communion. Next slide. Okay. It's a time to reflect and remember his heart. He dwells with us. He walks with us. He's our God. We're his people. And I grew up in the church. And so from the time I can remember as a very young child, I knew what the bread and the wine stood for. And I'd heard about Jesus Christ. And then, of course, as a believer, then communion became very special to me. But it was not optional, but it was a direct command from the Lord. And forgive me, I'm a slow learner, but communion, what does that mean? Communion, that's what this is all about. Communion with God. And so we are going to have communion, and he is with us, right? You believe that? So we're going to go to the fellowship hall right now because he's there waiting for us. He has some grape juice and some bread, and we're going to have communion together because that's what he commanded us to do. So let's go quickly. You don't have to use your pencils anymore. So if you go out this door and to the right, the fellowship hall, find a seat, and we'll have communion, and we'll have the final song will be our prayer and benediction, and we'll be gone. Okay? Okay, so let's go. Have communion.